Hi Plutos, now you have 2 sounds this week and they're actually a little bit of revision for you guys. A wee bit extra practice of E and Oo, okay? This is something we visited quite near the beginning of the year and it's just a little bit more practice for you guys, okay? So for example, for our E sound, we might have a word like see. And for our oo sound, we might have zoo. So there are lots of words that we could use this week for our 2 sounds. But first, it's really important that we know how to write the E and oo letters. So let's practice our E's and our O's, okay? So that we would be able to make E and oo really easily throughout the week. So remember, for our we're going to start at the bottom of the line and go up and round and all the way back. Not taking my pen off the board at all. So up and round and flick. Up and round and flick. Okay. Up and round and flick. I would ask that you probably should pause at this point and practice your E first before we move on to the O. See if you can get the perfect E written down at home. If you're ready, though, we will move on to our O. So to make an O, we want to start about halfway between the 2 big lines and go all the way around, touching that bottom line as I go, all the way around, all the way. Okay, so that would be how to form our 2 important letters for this week. So now that we know our 2 sounds are E and Oo this week, I thought we'd look at some more words that contain these sounds. So as we mentioned before, we've got the word see. You could also use the word green and the number 3. For our oo sound, we've got zoo, mood, spoon. And there are many more words that could be used. If you paused at this point, you could see if you could think of any more words that we could add to our list. Now your next task in this video is to shout out the words that I show you on my little yellow post-its here. This would be like me holding up some flashcards in class and you shouting out the word or popping your hand up to say the answer. Now because we're not sitting in a big group, feel free to shout out the words as you see them. Here is number 1. Next one. And last one. Now for the last part of this video, we're going to have a little practice of our diacritical marking and L-canon boxes. This is a skill you will need to use later in the week and we'll be able to revisit this video if you need any help. Now here's a little reminder of how we do it. So for our diacritical marking, let's focus on the word green first of all. So the G is not part of our sound. The R is also not part of our sound. So both of those single letters get a dot underneath. Now I can see we've got our E sound, so they would get a line underneath the 2 letters that make up our sound. And finally, a dot would go under the N because it's another single letter. When we move on to the Elkanon box, we have to split these into boxes. So we said G was a single sound, so it gets its own box. We said was a single sound, so it gets its own box. Then E is the two letters that make up our sound, so they need their own box. And then N at the end goes on its own. So as you can see, the E sound should always be in the same box. Now if we move on to spoon, same again. So S and P are not part of our sound this week. So they are single letters and just get a dot. O and O make U. So a line goes underneath those two letters. And lastly, a dot under the N because it's on its own. Another single letter that is not part of our sound. So heading over to our Elkanon boxes. S gets its own box. P gets its own box. And then the O and the O must go together with the N in its own box at the end. Now hopefully this will help you later in the week with your diacritical marking and Elkanon boxes task. For today, I just want you to practice some of your words in as many different ways as you can using the little activity sheet I'll have popped on our literacy channel. Okay, remember you can pause, rewind this video at any point and also revisit it later in the week if you need to.